All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the TSJW Network Weekly Show. I am Trellis Williams right here, joined by our co-host, Ollie Hammonds. He's also a beat writer for the Laurel Knighthawks. Those articles are on the TSJW Network.net website. Ollie, thank you for doing this show with me, man.
Hey, thanks, Trellis, for letting me join you, and hopefully this is a long-lasting show, and I'm excited. I'm having fun already.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we're going to start off with our recap of this last week in MSAHA basketball. But first, I'll let you know about the MSAHA League Pass. So the MSAHA League Pass has games from all around the conference. And right now, it's really going strong conference basketball play. Games are on there, so go pick up your subscription right now. It's on TSJWNetwork.net website, TSJWNetwork.net/watch. You can go check that out. But right now, we're going to go through the recap of this week. So starting off in some 16U boys basketball, we've got the Counselors are remaining undefeated, holding on to that number one spot. PCA's undefeated as well at the number 2, and then just a lot of action going on in the seeds under that, just wins and losses and all through there. What are you seeing so far from the 16U boys conference, Ollie?
What I'm seeing mostly in the Counselors really is that these guys have really bonded really quickly, and in the 16U realm, they've become a massive powerhouse. They're not undefeated for no reason, right? What's their win-loss record? They're 7-0. Is that correct?
That's right.
They're fantastic. They're very balanced. They got great down-low presence. They got one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. Period. PCA the same way. PCA really plays a fast-paced game, and so does Muddy River. So they're very, very, very tough competition to play. My guys, Laurel, we're trudging along. Played Hattiesburg last night. Hattiesburg's really good too. They're a team that'll sneak up on you. They'll take a win or two from you, and it's interesting. It's still up in the air. You cannot take too much right now. I mean, we've just hit the halfway mark of the season. A lot of things change in tournament time, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned Hattiesburg right there. I see them as one of those sleeper type teams because they've lost a lot of their games close games. Right now they're listed as the 8th seed, but they've played a lot of games already. So and they just kind of taken a lot of close losses. So that's definitely a team to keep your eye on. They lost to PCA by 6 points. So they're competing pretty hard. And just like you were saying about the Counselors and the Paladins, they're undefeated so far in the conference, but they're going to end up meeting each other as well as some of these other teams. You never know what you're going to get in a 16U boys basketball game.
You never know because the thing that we don't realize sometimes is that a lot of these guys also play varsity ball, and the tempo in varsity basketball is just, it's completely different from 16U, so they can bring some of that varsity experience down to the 16U team with him, and you see that with Muddy River too. Muddy River's got some guys who are used to that tempo, so it's interesting. A lot of guys who play both sides, 18U and 16U in the conference, and it's fast. It's fast.
Yeah, for sure. So in 18U girls, just been a lot of PCA and Laurel. Both teams undefeated in conference. Laurel undefeated overall, 8-0. Just have been coming through the year, just plowing through everybody throughout the season. PCA got a big win over the Flyers, winning 52-13. That's definitely a big margin there over a Meridian team that's battled pretty well. They got a win over the Victors the day before. Just a very, very, very interesting go there. Those teams, of course, are going to meet up here coming up on Saturday. What are you seeing there from the 18U girls field?
What I'm seeing from the Nighthawks especially is that it's a group of girls who have played together for a while, right? They've played together so long that they meld so good. I don't think there's another sport like basketball that just being a team, if you can be a team together, it doesn't matter the talent. If you can share the ball and be a team, you're going to win basketball games. And that's what you're seeing with the Nighthawks and PCA. They're two teams that understand the fundamentals of basketball in the way that they know that they need to pass. Everybody has to get on the board, right? And that's what we're seeing. And they're two very established organizations who, I mean, have a rich history. And, I mean, you can't just look at championships. You have to look at championship game appearances, right?
Yeah.
PCA, of course, coming off back-to-back championships. You know, but I mean, the Laurel girls last year won the 16U championship, and they've won 14U championships together. And that's the cool thing about high school sports too. You see this group come from, you know, 14U, junior high, up to varsity ball their senior season. Yeah. And we're seeing that. I mean, like I wrote in my articles about the Nighthawks 18U boys, they've been together since their 7th grade season, and they've accomplished a lot together. And that's the thing about basketball. You have to be a team. And those two teams know that, and they share the ball well. And I think Saturday's going to be a very interesting game to watch.
Laurel had that this week. They played against Hattiesburg, and they had a big win there. Just looking very solid so far. I mean, they've got a lot of height too. Just with that team, and PCA, I know that they've got some of the players that they've had from last year, but they kind of have a new look to their team, so it will be interesting to see that coming this weekend. And the 18U boys, we had some Meridian Flyers action. You know, they played back-to-back games, one against the Jackson Victors, one against the PCA Paladins. Both very, very tough, hard-fought games. They were able to win the one against the Jackson Victors. They lost the one to PCA. What do you think about Meridian and where they stand in the conference?
We talked about Hattiesburg and the 16U boys, right? And we talked about how they're a sleeper team. Meridian is probably the most powerful sleeper team in the conference. They will take some wins away. I mean, when you look at the roster, you see these guys and you don't really know who they are. You haven't seen, they've got some new people on their team, and you see a blowout PCA win. And I get it. I mean, it was a margin, but I mean, it still was too close for a team that's not good, right? Meridian is a good basketball team, and they'll take some away from you. And the big deal is Elliott Tulip. Elliott Tulip has developed year to year. I mean, he has become just a force behind the 3-point arc, driving mid-range jumpers, anything. His defensive prowess is insane.
Yeah, he's jumped a lot.
He's a good basketball player, right? But the good thing about him is that when you watch a game, he's not the type of player that's just going to take over the game, right? If I mean, in the fourth quarter, if you're Meridian, who do you want to have the ball, right? You want Elliott Tulip to have the ball. But he's going to share the basketball. We talked about team ball. He's going to share the basketball, and he's very good with that. Isaiah Davis, just a tall human being. I mean, just a guy who can get rebounds at will. Great down low for us, too. And they're a very good basketball team. We talk about playing together for a while. I mean, Elliott Tulip's been at Meridian since he was 14 years old. I remember playing him in 14U. And, I mean, he's a good player that, I mean, has really developed into that leadership role as well.
Yeah, for sure. And just like you were saying about Elliott Tulip, for sure. And then with Isaiah Davis, he's been playing very well as of late. Played well in both the PCA and the Victors games. Played really well in the game against Muddy River about a month ago in the 75-71 win. He had 27 points. Just a great win. That duo is really tough, but you also have Ethan Russell and Hasten Caldwell and Peyton Mitchell out there as well. Now, with the Victors, it was a tough one for them. They lost their senior guard, Dan Greet, to a toe injury, and that's going to be tough however long they're going to have to be without him. But they really fought hard to come back because they had a big deficit early in that game. But also with Meridian playing PCA, I was able to look back at the game and it was tied at 53 in the fourth quarter, and so then PCA went on a massive run there at the end. So really, whenever I look at all these games, I just think, man, it's anybody's game all the time. It's a very competitive conference. Of course, Laurel is up at the top. They're 4-0. PCA sitting right there at 2-0 in the conference. Of course, then again, they're going to meet this weekend. But really, 5 of those 6 teams, it's like you just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you don't. And the thing about that PCA Meridian game is it shows to me how important a bench is. Right? Yeah. That fourth quarter, you got your starters who are tired because if you don't have a good bench, they couldn't get that rest at the end of the second. Yeah. And many people think, 2 minutes doesn't matter. 2 minutes on the bench does matter. It helps you get your breath back, right? Gets that second win. Yeah. And that's what PCA has that a lot of teams sometimes don't have. PCA has some guys who will come off the bench and hit 3 threes in a row, and then they'll take him off. They'll put in another guy who's the 4th string, and he'll do the same thing. Yeah. I mean, PCA has such a deep bench that's what beat Meridian, right? Not saying that Meridian doesn't have a deep bench, just PCA has probably the deepest bench in the conference.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good bench for sure. So now we're going to talk about the upcoming week in MSAHA basketball. But first, I want to remind you all, please subscribe to the TSJW Network YouTube channel. That's how you'll be able to stay up to date with when we have live stream, when we live stream games, and when we post right here on the YouTube. So now for the upcoming week, a big game here Friday night. We've got the Muddy River Counselors and the Meridian Flyers. Main event, of course, is that 18U game. It was a 4-point win for the Flyers. The Flyers hold a 3-2 conference record. Counselors have a 2-3 conference record, and so that's going to be a battle for right there for that 3 seed. What are you thinking heading into that game?
I think it's when you look at the conference, literally every team is just a fast-paced basketball team, right? Yeah. And that is what the Flyers and the Counselors are. They're fast-paced. They're going to pass the ball very well. They're going to want to run the floor, right? Meridian loves to run the floor with Elliott Tulip. Son Michael for the Counselors really loves to run the floor too. They're just fast-paced teams who can hit the 3 and who have big men down low. We talk about sleeper teams. Those 2 teams I could easily see playing in the championship game, right? I could see both of those 2 teams playing in the championship game, maybe even against one another. You're right. The conference is it's wide open at this point. We don't really see a clear favorite, right? Yeah. I mean, I could see anybody winning that basketball game. I can't make a call for that game. It was so close last time, and you can sometimes, but you can't take too much from early season games.
Yeah. And the Counselors are still looking for that big marquee win in conferences. They've taken 3 losses to the Knighthawks, to the Victors, and to the Flyers. They were all within single digits, but still losses. And it's one of those things where you're always looking for that. You're always looking for that big win, so they're going to be looking for that. The Flyers they just have a lot of height, and they have 2 main players that are both tall. They're both over 6 foot, and they both can really score the basketball. So that's just that's tough for everybody in the league, but it's definitely tough for the Counselors who, even though they have more height than they did last year, still aren't known as a tall team. So that's definitely something that the Flyers will have to go to against the Counselors. Now, also have some other action there with the Hattiesburg Forerunners, Jackson Victors. You got some girls action. You've got 16U boys action. That 16U boys game, we'll have to see how that goes. It was a close one earlier in the season. The Victors won it, but the Forerunners really looking to get another win in 16U. As their only win was against the Mount Zion Lions. What are you thinking about the Victors and the Forerunners 16U game Thursday night?
A couple teams, they're 2 teams that kind of play completely different styles. Yeah. Right? You got the Hattiesburg Forerunners who can shoot the 3 ball, right? Yeah. You leave them up the net all, they are going to hit the 3. And that's how they're going to beat you. And then you have the Jackson Victors who rely a lot on the drive, right? And they're going to shoot the 3 too. Yeah. But you can tell that's not what they want to do, right? They want to drive the ball. They want to shoot mid-range jumpers, and they want to get that wide-open layup in the paint. They want to get you in foul trouble. So that's a very interesting matchup to see how it's going to go. Hattiesburg can hold their own, and so can Jackson. It's two very close teams that play completely different styles.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see that. There's also, of course, there's also an 18U girls game there too between the Victors and the Forerunners. Now that one was the first game. They were the opening night was the Victors and the Forerunners, and the Forerunners were able to get a 30-point win over the Victors in that 18U girls. The Victors have yet to win a game in 18U in girls in conference, but they have won 4 games non-conference. So they're going to definitely be looking to get back at the Forerunners. The Forerunners actually have not won since that game, so they're going to be looking for another win. So that should be an interesting one to keep our eyes on as well. But now we will be that will bring us to our games of the week, which we will talk about in just a moment. But again, please make sure you go check out the website, the TSJW Network website. That's where all the standings, the scores, the schedules, and articles are streaming through there on a multiple time a week basis. We have articles going. Ollie writes for the Laurel Knighthawks. I'll write for the counselors and for general things in the conference as well. But now that will bring us to our games of the week, and that, of course, is the PCA Paladins and the Laurel Knighthawks for 18U girls and 18U boys, as both of those will be number 1 against number 2 seed games with 2 undefeated teams. So let's start off with 18U girls. What are you seeing from that coming up?
Once again, a very high pace game. It's going to be a close matchup. PCA looking for that three-peat, right? They're an experienced bunch. They're going to fight hard. The Laurel Knighthawk girls, have been through some slumps in years past, but this year they've come together, they've melded together, and that's from experience. I mean, I just know it's from experience because, you go back to, like I said earlier, this core group, when they were on 14U, they were winning championships there. Yeah. So they're getting their chance in varsity, and they're performing at a very high level, and they're being very successful. And PCA, once again, number 2 seed. It's going to be a good, fun game to watch. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm interested to see that as well because the PCA Paladins, just like you're saying, they're looking for a three-peat. The Laurel Ladyhawks, they had the number 2 seed last year in the tournament. They just weren't able to get over the hump as the Victors beat them, getting to the championship there, which of course PCA won. But now, Laurel, they haven't even lost yet. So this will just be I'm just looking to see a pretty heavyweight matchup here. So that should just definitely be an interesting thing there. I don't know. I haven't seen the PCA 18U girls as much. I don't know if they have as much height as Laurel does. But I do know that they have some quickness. That's what they've been known for in the past. But just like you're saying, and just like you've been saying, just playing together for a long time helps you win. And so I think we're going to see that from both of these teams.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, we move on to the 18U boys game, which will be the same 2 teams, PCA Paladins, Laurel Knighthawks, number 1, number 2 seeds, both undefeated in conference. The Laurel Knighthawks actually are 11-4 overall. Very impressive start to the season for them. PCA Paladins are 5-5, but they were able to travel across state and play some tough competition and have some close games there. But just definitely interesting matchup we got here. What are you seeing from that?
What I see is 2 teams that last year had 4 out of the 10 players in the all-conference first and second team.
Yeah.
They're very established organizations who have great coaching, right?
Yeah.
They have fantastic coaching who have their guys disciplined very well to their style of play.
Yeah.
And when you look at the 2 teams, you have PCA who's not only going to shoot the 3, they're going to be a very high percentage shooting team behind the 3-point arc.
Yeah.
They're going to be very good at the 3. Then you look at Laurel, who probably has the best down-low tandem in the conference in Kai Welch and Caleb Jenkins, right? I mean, I look at the books and I see, past in all the games, they're scoring a ton of the Nighthawks points.
Yeah.
And of course, that's been PCA's weakness for a while now. It's been that down low spot, right? Then they lose Daniel Cooper, who's a big player down low for them.
Yeah.
Last year, he was a senior. But this is going to be, I feel like we've said it about every game, but this is going to be a very high-paced basketball game.
Yeah.
These are two very athletic teams. They're fantastic. Laurel has a little bit more of an edge in my mind. They're the only team in the conference with a winning record at 11-4.
Yeah.
They're 4-0 in the conference. I mean, they're just playing really, really good basketball. And, last year it was a weird year for the Nighthawks, right? Last year was strange. The regular season, I don't quite exactly know the record, but I know
8-4 in conference.
Yeah, I mean, the conference record was great, but overall record, I mean, it wasn't anything to, talk about. And then they come in the tournament, and they went out. I mean, they were fantastic in the tournament. It all came together. PCA last year, PCA was the heavy favorite coming into the tournament, right? They were the number one seed. They had just beaten everyone, just mercilessly. They had beaten the Nighthawks twice in the regular season, one time by a 1-point victory and another time by a massive margin. And then they almost lose to Meridian. Then they lose twice to the Nighthawks.
Yeah.
They lose twice to the Nighthawks. You like I said before, you can't take much from the first meeting in the season, but you can take a lot from this game. You can take a lot from this game because these are two teams that, well, like I mentioned, it's also kind of in the middle of the season. But these are two teams who are established ball clubs. There's no wondering what their offenses are, right?
Yeah.
There's no what's new. These have been the same coaching staffs for a while, so they know what they're doing. They know their style of play, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And just like you're saying, the timing of this game is very interesting too. It's right before Christmas break, so you're talking about like a perfect opportunity for a statement win for whoever wins this game, just going into the break. And another thing too is that just like we mentioned earlier, the Nighthawks defending champions. This is the rematch of last year's championship games. So definitely something to see, as both teams have lost some players though. PCA's actually has a lot newer of a look of a team. The Laurel Knighthawks have lost two key players with Isaac Cowsley and Jack Flint, but they do have like a good. They've got plenty of guys who are from last year as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see with that. And PCA definitely known for shooting. They've been known for shooting the whole time. I've known about PCA. They've been known for shooting. Yes. And the Laurel Knighthawks, I mean, just like you're saying, Caleb Jenkins and Kyle Wills, they play well together in the lane. Moving the ball amongst themselves to get buckets. And then Silas Ensign is he's just cash money from the outside.
Kind of a pick your poison when you play the Nighthawks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to defend down low and give up the three, or do you want to defend the three and get eat up down low? But if there's one team that I can see that would give them fits, it's PCA.
Yeah, and it's one of those things because they're not playing the same game, just like you were saying. It's not something that Laurel's playing PCA at their own game. If PCA is able to get Laurel into PCA's game, then that's going to be tough. Same vice versa. If Laurel makes PCA play their game, they're probably going to win. And so it'll be an interesting game to see. And I'll say this is that we plan on going down there and calling that game and streaming that one. So it should be right here on the TSJW Network Live. So that should be interesting. Check that out. That'll be on Saturday. And 18U girls basketball will start at 1, I believe, and then 2:30 will be the 18U boys. So that should be very interesting matchup and probably one of, if not the biggest game so far of the season. I've got a good few big games in January, as it's going to be packed out, just back to back of big games. But just definitely a good one to end 2021 on, if you ask me. But now talking more about this 18U field. Now with the victors, they won 7 years in a row. Last year had a tough tournament, taking some losses, getting eliminated by Meridian. This year, surprisingly, have been doing very well. They start off the season and they're, doing very well. You would think that they would have had a further of a drop off after losing Gideon Peacock last year, but they've had a good season so far. Unfortunately, Dan Greet's out right now, but hopefully he'll recover quickly. What are you thinking about them?
Jackson is a team that's kind of changed their offense from what they usually do. Of course, they lose a player to Colin. Gideon Peacock graduates, goes with Colin. They were always a team that was very kind of balanced, right? They were very balanced. They played well together. They gave everyone fit. They were just the scrappy team who were, I wouldn't call a sleeper, but somebody that you'd come in thinking, we got this game, and then they punch you in the mouth. Right?
Yeah.
That's the type of team that they are. But they've changed their game to a more three-point shooting style. A lot of teams in the conference have just changed that three-point shooting style. As a matter of fact, really the only two teams that I see in the varsity realm that have stayed with kind of the balanced style is Laurel and Meridian.
Yeah.
Right? But Jackson has really changed to the three-point shooting style. And the thing about Jackson is when you watch a Jackson game, you don't see one superstar, right?
Yeah.
Nobody pops out at you because everyone's on the board. They're sharing the basketball. I mean, I've said it over and over and over, but when you share the basketball, you're going to be a good basketball team because overall, it's not about whether or not you dropped 20 that night. It's about whether or not you got the win.
Yeah.
And that's what Jackson has really, they've adopted that mindset of it's about the win.
Yeah.
And Spicer, of course, he's a very, very good basketball player.
Yeah.
He can shoot, he can drive. I mean, he's a great ball handler. But once again, when you go see a Jackson game, you don't go, that's their offense or that's their guy. You can't see it because everybody's in the books.
Yeah, for sure. And so you got Colin Crosby and Nash Spicer. They're both senior players, both big key players for them. Now, just like you were saying with Laurel and Meridian using some big man action in their game, Victors play a lot through their tall guy. But they definitely shoot a lot of 3-pointers. They really do. But they use Crosby down low to facilitate that. I mean, he does a lot of ball swinging where he'll receive it in the paint and then swing it to the other side. Makes the defense shift a lot there.
Yeah, it's sort of like the old '90s Bulls offense, right? You get it into the center and you just see what happens.
And so with that, that will wrap up our TSJW Network Weekly right here. I'm Trellis Williams. Right here, co-host Ollie Hammonds, and I want to finish on this note. So please, if you can, send clips of certain players doing some good plays, like some of the big highlights from the games. If you send in the clips, then we can play some of the have a play of the week or things of that nature. We would like to have that be a segment on this show. So if you could help us out by sending those in. You can send those in to the email address tsjwnetwork@gmail.com. You can send them there. You can send them as a DM on Instagram or anything like that as well. But Ollie, man, thank you for helping create this show, and look forward to next time when we do another one.
I am too. I'm having fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. And thank you for joining us. This is TSJW Network Weekly. I'm Trellis Williams. We out.